My daughter's imaginary friend wants to wear my face. The last time my daughter called me mommy, she was looking right through me. We moved into my grandmother's house because we had nowhere else to go. I remembered it as a place of summer light and the smell of baked bread. I told myself it was a sanctuary, a fresh start. The house, it seemed, remembered things differently. The air was thick with the scent of dried flowers and dust, a sweet, cloying smell like a forgotten funeral parlor. My daughter Zora was 7. She had a spirit that could fill any room. But in that house, she became quiet. She'd spend hours in the upstairs hallway, just staring at the peeling floral wallpaper. That's where she met Pella. Pella lives in the walls, Zora whispered to me one night, her small hand tracing the brown water stains that spiderwebbed across her bedroom ceiling. She's lonely. I smiled, the kind of tired, automatic smile you give a child when you're half listening. That's nice, sweetie. Is she your new friend? She's not new, Zora said, her eyes fixed on the stain. She's been waiting. A cold finger traced its way down my spine. I chalked it up to the house. It was old. It groaned and settled at night like a dying man. Every shadow seemed to hold its breath. A few days later, I couldn't find my mother's old silver locket. I'd left it on my dresser. I searched everywhere. I found it later that afternoon, tucked inside Zora's dollhouse, resting on a tiny pillow in the master bedroom. Zora, honey, you can't take mommy's things without asking. She didn't look up from her coloring book. Pella wanted to try it on. She says pretty things feel like skin. My blood went cold. I took the locket and locked it away. That night, I heard her talking. A low, conspiratorial murmur from her room. I crept to her door, pressing my ear against the wood. It wasn't one-sided. There were pauses, as if she were listening to a reply. But it's not the same, Zora whispered. I know. We have to be patient. I pushed the door open. She was sitting on the floor, her back to me, facing the empty corner where the shadows were deepest. She didn't even flinch. Zora? Who are you talking to? She turned slowly. Her face was blank, her eyes distant. Pella's learning your voice, so she can talk to you herself. I tried to sleep that night, I really did. But every creak of the floorboards, every rattle of a window pane was Pella, practicing, learning the shape of our lives. Things got worse. I'd walk into a room and Zora would be standing there, perfectly still, head cocked. She'd be repeating phrases I'd said earlier in the day. The exact inflection, the same tired sigh I'd let out while doing dishes. God, I can't wait for this day to be over. The words coming from my 7-year-old's mouth sounded grotesque. Pella thought it sounded funny, she'd say with a shrug, and go back to her toys. I was losing my fucking mind. I started thinking about packing Zora up and just driving, sleeping in the car if we had to. Anything to get out of that house. I stopped by to see Althea, the old woman who'd lived next door since my grandmother was a girl. Her house smelled of cats and cinnamon. She listened, her wrinkled face a mask of concentration, as I told her about Zora, about Pella. I left out the part about my locket, my voice. I didn't want to sound crazy. When I finished, she just stared into her teacup. That house, she said, her voice a dry rustle of leaves. It's a hungry place, always has been. Take souvenirs. A hairbrush from one, a photograph from another. Sometimes it takes more. She wouldn't look at me. Be careful what you leave lying around, dear, especially yourself. Her words echoed in my head as I walked back across the lawn. The windows of my house looked like vacant eyes, watching me. That night, I had it out with Zora. I was exhausted and my nerves were shot. She'd taken one of my favorite scarves and draped it over her desk lamp, making the whole room glow a sickly red. That's it, Zora. No more Pella is not real. It's a game, and it's over, I shouted, my voice cracking. She stared at me, her lower lip trembling. Tears welled in her eyes, and then her face twisted into something else, something cold and ancient. She needs it, she shrieked, a sound so full of rage it barely sounded like her. Pella needs a face, and she wants yours. She said you aren't even using it right. The world went silent. The only sound was the buzzing in my ears. I just stood there, paralyzed, as my daughter, my sweet little girl, sobbed on the floor. But she wasn't crying for me. That was the moment I knew we had to leave. I didn't pack. I just grabbed my purse and the car keys. I went to Zora's room to get her. The room was empty. Her bed was neatly made. Her toys were all put away. A chill that had nothing to do with the house's draft settled deep in my bones. "Zora?" I called, my voice a pathetic tremble. Silence. Then I heard it. A soft humming coming from my bedroom. I crept down the hall, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I pushed open the door. Zora was standing there, in front of the tall, antique mirror that had belonged to my grandmother. She was humming a nursery rhyme, her back to me. But she wasn't alone. In the reflection, she was holding someone's hand. It was a tall, skeletal figure made of shifting shadows and peeling wallpaper patterns. A thing that wore the house like a skin. Its face was a blurry, indistinct smudge, a vortex of gray. I felt a scream build in my throat, hot and sharp, but it wouldn't come out. Zora saw me in the mirror. A slow, knowing smile spread across her reflected face. "Mommy," she said, her voice clear and cold. "Look, she's almost ready." As I watched, frozen in the doorway, the blurry smudge on the thing's face began to resolve, to sharpen. My features swam into view, my nose, my mouth, my eyes wide with terror. It was my face, stretched over something hollow. The smile, a grotesque parody carved into the flesh. The thing in the mirror, the thing wearing my face, raised its free hand and gave a little wave. My own arms were pinned, rigid at my sides. "See?" Zora whispered to the reflection, her voice full of pride. "It's a perfect fit." She squeezed the shadowy hand of the thing in the mirror, and the thing wearing my face squeezed back,